Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And if you're new to the Content Swap Podcast, this is a podcast in which we discuss a piece of content that we were assigned for the week. And that's kind of it. At the end of the episode, we then assign another piece of content to each other for the next week's episode. And we have pretty much a week to engage with that content, and then we come back and we talk about it. So before we usually dive into the content, we like to provide an update on just life and how that's going. We are not recording video again today. We just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Not sure how to better put it other than like it's Sunday. We're a little tired, and it takes a little effort to put the video portion together. Yeah. And we just wanted to sit, relax, the end of the weekend, do a little bit of recording. So if you usually watch on YouTube, we're still going to post on YouTube. You're just not going to see us, and I hope that's okay. If you have any negative feedback about that, please feel free to write that in the comments constructively, and We'll try to prioritize video a little bit more going forward.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out if it's worth it.
To
do video.
To do video?
It's just, I enjoy the comfort of not doing video. Because then, we get to relax a bit more. We get to be wherever we want to be. It's not, we don't have to set up in a place to make sure the lighting's good and things like that. And so we can be more relaxed and things like that.
When I listen to the podcast, I always listen on Spotify. I never watch the video.
Yeah, I never watch the video.
So there's that too. I don't know. Nobody that I know in real life watches the video.
They all listen on Spotify or whatever.
Right. And every once in a while, we will get a comment on a YouTube video. And I'll be like, oh, that's nice. Like one time I think it was during the Initial D episode.
Yeah.
You were talking about how there was a character who basically had a sugar daddy, but you thought that her sugar daddy was her actual dad.
Yeah.
And I kind of like looked at the camera.
Yeah.
When you were talking about like she's got this weird relationship with her dad, and somebody commented like, oh, that knowing look at 32 minutes in or whatever is so funny. And I was like, oh, wow, that's like the one time somebody commented on like something that they saw in the video of like an hour and a half long podcast.
Wow. I love that.
Right.
See, that's what I mean. If we had like engagement like that, then it makes it much more worth it to do video. Right. But I don't know. But I also I don't keep track of the comments. So I maybe there is something and I just don't know.
There are no comments lately worth discussing. Most of the comments that we have on our YouTube videos are specifically on our RRR and Abbott Elementary video. Just because that episode did gangbusters.
I never expected that.
We got a comment last week on last week's podcast, and it was a guy recommending an Indian movie to us. So
oh wow, that's cool.
But it was on last week's episode. We just kind of get those from time to time.
I mean, I love the recommendations. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate the recommendations. Yeah. Totally. I just kind of wish there was more engagement with the actual content of the episodes.
What we're talking about.
That we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah. I love that if this person is listening, shout out to the Austin Powers impersonator who reached out to us.
Yeah, cool. The Austin Powers episode.
Wow.
I used a photo that I found on Google image search that it was not actually Mike Myers dressed as Austin Powers. It was this professional Austin Powers impersonator. And
could not tell the difference.
He commented on our post on Instagram that's not Austin, baby, that's me.
I thought it was a joke.
Right. But no, I looked deeper at it and was like, oh my God, that is
That
him.
is actually him. Yeah, that's wild.
And he was super chill about it.
Oh yeah, he's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he could have been like, take this down.
Right. No, it's probably like the highest compliment that like
we didn't tell the difference. Yeah.
Like I think I'm putting, an official image together, and it's an impersonator.
Yeah.
Like he's doing a great job.
Amazing job.
Right.
That's so cool.
Anyway, so yeah, we're not doing video, but as far as any updates, anything that you would like to update the audience on?
Yeah, I mean, not too much going on. I can't even remember what I last talked about last episode. That was like really only a few days ago when we recorded.
I know
we recorded that one late.
Yeah, we recorded that one on Wednesday. Today's Sunday. So it's only like 4 days.
Yeah. So since 4 days ago, not much has happened.
Yeah.
Starting to get back into the routine of things now that we're back where we live. As you all knew, before we left, I was working at a bookstore. I am still working for them, but like just kind of every other week for just one day. It's mostly just to like still be a part of their family. Nothing too like crazy because again, my internship got extended, so I can't do too much. So it was interesting to be back and see some of the familiar customers that come in regularly and get to chat with them. But also I've been in a huge book slump, and so I have not been reading for like 3 months, and that makes me really sad because customers come in and they're like, what's your recommendation? What you been reading lately? Or like regulars come in, what you been reading? And I'm like, nothing. I have nothing to tell you. I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's popular. I don't know. I feel sad about that because reading's such a big part of my life. So
you're out of the loop.
I am. I'm out of the loop, and that sucks. But I just I don't know. I'm just in the slump, and I can't seem to find the motivation to get out of it. So being back in the store, I feel like kind of there's a little spark of I want to go home. I want to read something. But at the same time, I was like, but what do I want to read? Like nothing sounds appealing. The only thing that sounded appealing was just I just want a really easy, will take me a day to read, cheesy rom-com. And I'm hoping that maybe if I read one of those, it'll get me out of that book slump, and then I'll want to read something of more substance. No offense to the rom-com industry. I love rom-com, so,
They have their time.
I love them. They're great palate cleansers. But yeah, I'm I think I need something easy and low stakes because I think that's what I'm struggling with. I think the book that I left off on is a tougher subject, and also it was very drawn out, and I think that's what kicked off the book slump. Was just I don't know. It was just a lot and also nothing.
A lot and also nothing. That sounds like Final Fantasy 16, which I will get into later. But
yeah,
I think it's really interesting that you work for a bookstore and people come in looking for recommendations. I mean, that's got to be a cool feeling. People who used to work for Blockbuster or video rental places, I guess that type of experience from a job doesn't really exist anymore for people that love movies, or I really love games. Games are my books. You love books, I love games. If I wanted to be recommending games to people, I'd be working at GameStop, which is not where I want to be working. But you're having this experience getting to work for a local bookstore, and a lot of people like to read books and they want recommendations, and I think that's really cool. So hopefully me framing it that way,
it's cool and it's challenging because I like books. I don't like all books, so there's genres that I'm just not well versed in. And so you get a person who's oh, can you give me a recommendation? I'm like, cool, what kind of books do you like? And they're like, historical fiction. And I'm like, I got nothing for you. I don't read historical fiction typically. So it's oh, you might want to talk to this person because they're that's their whole thing. They love that. Or you get like younger folks, like someone who's more into YA. I don't really read a lot of YA because I'm just like, not that I'm too old for it. There's some YA books I swear by, some YA series that I just love, but I just don't typically go for them. So it's like a little bit harder, and I have to like find a younger employee to like help them out. But what I do love, I like a challenge. So I do like, especially when someone's like, oh, because a lot of times people like anything. They're like, oh, I like all genres. And it's like, okay, well, like, what's a book that you love? And they're like, oh, I really loved this book. What's something that's like that? I'm like, cool, okay. I know what this book is about. Let me find something similar. And it's always really hard when you get a customer who's an avid reader because they've read everything. So to find them a new book they haven't read is impossible.
Well, that should be their job.
But it's fun. It's so fun because you're like, okay, this is a challenge. Like, I have to find you something that you haven't read yet. So you're like, you either try to find something that's really, really new that just came out, or you try and find something so obscure that they've never heard of that's kind of like flown under their radar. And it's always fun to find like the ones that are more obscure. But I like that. I like that like kind of challenge of trying to find like a perfect book. But then you have the fear of like, all right, if you don't like this, don't come back at me like,
yeah,
this is terrible.
I mean, they're accepting your recommendation with their money.
Right.
And that's on them. You know, they made that choice.
Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, they're great. They're awesome. I mean, I've never had anyone say anything bad or like, it's the best. It's so great when someone comes back in and they're like, that book you gave me, I loved it. It was so good. Do you have another one? Like, That's the best. I love that feeling.
What do you think it is about books that keeps people wanting to buy physical copies of books? For example, like nobody wants to buy physical movies or video games anymore because they can just buy them digitally. But you can also buy books digitally. But we still like to buy physical books. And that's kind of part of what kind of keeps this in-store recommending experience alive. That you know, that it doesn't for those other two mediums. What do you think it is?
I think it is still a tough industry because I think a lot of people now like audiobooks. But I think in terms of like if someone doesn't like audiobooks and they want visuals, like the visual words, I think one, it's easier on the eyes to have a physical book than to look at a screen.
That's true.
Now you have like Kindles and stuff like that, which like make it more like paper like, I guess.
Yeah, they have like a special screen that makes it look like paper.
But it's like at that point, I don't know, it's still not the same.
Right.
And so I feel like
I just like to flip the pages.
Yeah, like I feel honestly
the smell of the books.
I feel like it is kind of like a therapeutic thing. Like there's something about physically turning the page. Yeah. Because like for me, it's like I don't like sometimes I just, especially if I don't want to spend money on a book because I'm afraid I might not like it and I don't want to invest like the $30 for the book, then I'll just download it on my iPad. But like when I don't have that physical book, like I like to know like how far I am into the book. It's kind of hard to tell when you're just like,
that's
like,
a good point.
Like sure, I'm like 100 pages into 300, but I like to see that like the thickness of like how much that is or like what that looks like, you know? And like I like to turn the page or like see, I don't know, just like see what it looks like.
That makes sense because nobody's saying like, oh, I love the smell of my CDs or saying like, oh, I love taking it out of the case and putting it in the console. That's my least favorite thing to do. So that does make sense.
I don't know. I like carrying books around with me. Like I used to, like all last year, I always had a book with me when I went to campus and I was always pulling out my book, and I hated when I was reading a book on my iPad and I had to carry my iPad with me on campus. I hated that. I was like, I want this as a physical book. Why am I carrying my dumb iPad around?
I mean, if I was going to read a book on a device, it would probably be like something more Kindle size.
Yeah.
The iPad is like
pretty big.
Like a full iPad is pretty big.
Yeah.
But, you know, like iPad mini, that seems pretty ideal.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like, it's not the same.
I agree. I agree it is not the same.
Yeah.
And I love buying physical books, but I no longer love buying physical games.
Yeah.
I mean, I like seeing my books on my shelf, and I kind of like seeing my physical games on a shelf, but not enough to be like, I want to open those up and put the CD in every time, because it's like,
Yeah. But it's also like people like, and not to say that you should buy books just to like show them off to people. Like buy books if you like want to have that book.
I like it when people come over and they get to see all the books that I've read. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I feel like books really show your personality. They show who you are. They show what you enjoy. Like they show what you find entertaining. Like I don't know, they just show like what you like to escape to, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's like not everybody enjoys reading books, but we all know how to read. So like my point being that like anybody can read a book. Not everybody can just like pick up a video game and find it enjoyable. Like whether
everybody can read a book.
Right, but like whether you like to read a book or not, you are going to have to read in your life. Anything.
Yeah.
You read the news, read your email, you have to read. And that's all that reading a book requires you to do mentally. Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to the accessibility of that medium that also allows it that, I guess, just general appreciation to where having the physical copy is like something that you can share with anybody and they'd be intrigued, you know?
Yeah.
Like, grandma's not going to be intrigued at my PS4 collection, you know?
Yeah. There's that. But yeah, I don't know. I love books. I love them so much. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the only other thing that is
good book talk.
Yeah. The only other thing that's new is I played Venba. Sorry, I feel like it came out of my mouth.
Venba, a video game?
Yeah, a video game.
Did you not talk about this last week?
Did I?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
What day did you play it?
I don't remember.
Because we recorded 4 days ago.
I know. Let me look at it. Hold on. I can do a quick little search. Did I already talk? I might have already talked about it.
I'm pretty sure you talked about it. You talked about how... Yeah, no, you talked about it last week.
4 days ago.
Yeah, you talked about it last week because you talked about how Krista on the Kid and Krista podcast had played it.
That's right. Anyway, okay, scratch that. Pretend I never said it. We started playing Unravel 2.
Last night.
My suggestion, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, that was your suggestion.
I was like, let's play a co-op game. It's been a long time since we've done that.
It is a co-op game, and I like it a lot, actually.
I like it a lot, too.
It's fun.
It is fun. It's cute.
It is. It's cute. We get to problem solve together.
Yeah.
I think the levels are cool, but once they busted out those challenges, those portals with the challenges where it's like you were just trying to solve like a quick puzzle, but they
are not quick. They are hard.
It's like it could be quick if you know how to do it, right? Like you could solve it, you could reasonably get through it in, like a minute or two, whereas the levels are like, no matter how quick you're going, it's going to take you at least 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, but it does take you a while to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
And that was really satisfying. Like us doing that whole like repeat the same strategy until we get it right together. That was fun.
I've been thinking about that one puzzle where we just sat staring at it like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And we sat the like fact that we were so determined, like we were not budging. We were just like, we didn't want to use the hints.
I know.
We were like, how do we do this?
I was like, if we don't do this right now, I'm going to be thinking about this all day tomorrow.
Yeah. And we figured it out.
We did figure it out on a whim.
Yeah.
It like the solution didn't even feel like it should have been the solution. But it worked.
Yeah. And what I liked too was like, there was a time like you figured out that one, but then there was like a time where like I figured out something and that was really helpful for like one of the challenges. I don't know. It just felt like we like both equally figured out things. Yeah. And it was really nice and I loved that.
Yeah, that's a good game. Definitely recommend anybody who, likes couch co-op games and wants to collaborate with their
collaboration
with somebody else. In the same room. That's a great game for that. Just like It Takes Two.
Yeah. I'm excited to keep playing more of it.
Yeah.
also seems like it's going to be very depressing and deep, and like I don't know
Yeah,
what the story is.
I don't know about the whole like story aspect of it. I just like the gameplay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Not every game needs to have some deep message.
Yeah.
Like I'm just.
But I
wanna do
am
the
like, are you
gameplay.
not curious about like what these like little like ghost flashback things are?
Not really,
I'm just like, what's going on?
because it doesn't. Because to me that like depressing stuff does not fit with like a yarn creature doing yarn puzzles. So like there's just such a disconnect there for me where I'm like, I'm not really here for this. I just want to do these yarn puzzles.
I mean, it seems like the story centered around a child and their upbringing or whatever's going on with them. So I get why it's like these like little yarn dolls, but like,
but I'm not going to recommend this game to somebody for
I mean, no, not for the story.
Yeah.
No, but I am just like, what is happening in the background there?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's kind of wild what's going on in the background.
It does seem,
it's a bit intense.
It does seem intense, yeah.
Yeah. So
I almost kind of take issue with that being so intense because, like, what if somebody wanted to play this game with their kid or something, and it's like the subject matter that's happening in the background that you don't even care about because you just want to play the game is too intense for your child.
Yeah. It does seem a bit much. But, I mean, maybe don't play with your child, but play with your partner.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's...
Or your friend.
Maybe the puzzles are so complex that it's like your child would just struggle. So
honestly, I mean, like, well, the levels themselves are just... Because you're just kind of, like, sliding and jumping, and it's just kind of like...
Swinging.
Yeah, it's not...
Grabbing.
That's not too hard. But
the mechanics are a bit tricky. Like, it's a lot to digest mechanically. I think with the yarn and the, like... climbing up because you have a yarn between the two characters and you can like grab that yarn to then swing. Like one person could be stationary, the other person could jump off the edge and swing from the main person as like the fulcrum, is that the right word, of the swing. And like that's pretty neat. Like there's a lot of gameplay options that go along with that. I
guess that's true. I still don't have the swinging quite grasped.
Yeah, no,
it took me a while to just realize, like, to just let go, like when I'm done swinging.
Yeah, no, I mean, I that's why I appreciate the puzzles that are put in there, because you have to inherently get good at the game in order to do those successfully. Yeah, and I think like your ability to play the game has probably significantly improved just from us doing those puzzles for like when you play the next level.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I recommended it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to play more of it.
I had like a backlog of just co-op games because I enjoyed us playing It Takes Two so much, and I was like, I just want to, relive that experience. And so, like, anytime on TikTok, a TikTok pops up that's like co-op games to play, I'm like, oh, let me write these down. Like, let me document these.
Well, now I'm paying for Game Pass again on my Xbox because you wanted to drive the Barbie car in Forza Horizon 5. So, I'm sure there's a ton of co-op games on there as well that we could dive into that without at no additional cost.
What's Portal on? What console is that on?
Oh, everything, but I don't own it, so got to get it somewhere. Yeah. But they made a Portal 1 and 2 collection for the Switch, which like and it was very highly rated. Are they both
co-op or just one?
Just Portal 2's co-op. Yeah. But yeah, the companion collection or whatever it was called on the Switch was extremely highly rated. So if it runs well on Switch, I may just pick it up on the Switch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes out for more co-op games.
Nice.
I love co-op games.
Nice.
I like them when it's equal contribution. When you're actually having to collaborate, not when I'm just following you around.
Right, not when the what we call the little brother mode.
Yeah, I'm not about that life. Like, what a waste of my time.
Yeah.
But when it's like you're forced, I like when you can't do something without my help. Yeah. That's when I like it.
Yeah, I think going forward, if we do play any games that have co-op features where it's like the little brother mode, I should be the little brother and you'll be the main character. You'll be player 1, I'll be player 2.
I don't think you can handle that.
If it's a game that I've played already, I can handle it.
Oh my gosh, that's no fun.
Well, like Luigi's Mansion 3, for example. I want to give this game to you in October. But like there's Luigi and then there's Gooigi, which is Luigi made out of goo.
Oh, I'm playing Luigi.
Yeah, you play Luigi. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be Gooigi. I've already played this game.
Gooigi.
Yeah.
That's cute. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. Everybody that I know who's played it with 2 people really enjoys that game. So,
Yeah.
and I played it just by myself and did not like it that
Loser.
much. Yeah. Everything is more fun with a companion.
Who played Gooigi then?
I did. I switched between Luigi and Gooigi.
That's no fun.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do when you play it with one person. It's
That's
like
not fun.
Luigi just stays stationary, and then Gooigi does his Gooigi stuff. But if you play with 2 people, then it's just like engaging the whole time for everybody.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gooigi.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
It was pretty cute. It's a smart idea.
I'm obsessed. I can't wait to see what Gooigi looks like.
It looks like Flubber. You remember Flubber?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I
it looks
love
like Flubber, but
Flubber.
in the exact shape of Luigi.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Too cute.
Anyway, anything else to update on?
That is all.
All right. Yeah, my update this week. Just before recording, I finally finished Final Fantasy 16, and I'm so happy to be done.
I wish we had that sound effect that was like, yay.
Like da 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 da, or like yeah. No, I'm so happy to be done with that game. It took me 37 hours, which is it needed to be a shorter experience overall. As I've said multiple times, extremely great big moments and extremely horrible slow small moments. I think it just needed to shave down the small moments significantly, put a little bit more into those small moments so that the player just stays engaged. Because when you see the big moments, it's like, okay, clearly a massive chunk of the budget went into this, but like so much of my time, like 60% of my time is spent on this small stuff. And if that stuff sucks, then what am I spending my time doing? So, very happy to be done. I did not expect to finish it this weekend, but I picked it up yesterday and just kind of kept playing it and got through a significant portion to the point where it felt like, hey, if I just keep this up, I can actually finish it this weekend.
Yesterday, you were like, I'm 80% of the way through the game. And I was like, oh, great. And that was at first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. You played for like what felt like hour. Was it yesterday or Friday? I don't know. You played for like
It was
hours.
yesterday.
And I was like, oh, he's gotta be about to finish because you did like
Same.
you did
I thought,
all these
I thought
things,
so too.
and then you clicked out of it and it was like 82%, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Well, yesterday, we need to talk about this percentage thing because this is actually a big problem. Because yesterday when I picked it up, I was at 66%, and then by the time I finished playing yesterday, I was at like 83%, which is 17% in one day, which meant I had 17% left. But then I finished the game today, and when I finished the game, it said I was 90% done. And the reason for that, I found out, was because I played the demo for this game, which the PS5 recognizes as a separate piece of software, and that the demo is like the first 3 hours of the game, which technically in the story encompasses the first 10%. So when I played that and I carried it over, the game started at 0, even though I had already done 10% of the game. So this whole time I was like, I've done so much, I've got to be further than like 82%. It feels like I'm right around the corner to the final boss, and you tell me I'm only 80% done. Like there's still more, and that was really like
discouraging.
It was discouraging. It made the experience feel like, oh my god, like we are so clearly at the end. How is this game gonna still be giving me like 10% more? And that, which wasn't the case. And that just really kind of, I guess like exaggerated that feeling of like, this is taking way too long. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean I'm only at 89%? When in reality, I'm at 99%. Like, I'm right there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting tale of user experience and why that's so important to get right. Because in my experience, I was really looking to that percentage feature on the PS5 to tell me like where I was at in the story.
I mean, I was looking at it and I was like, bruh.
Right. And for this like little demo glitch to get through and like,
is that a glitch or is that typical?
That's not typical because most games don't have like a demo that then can like carry the story over into like the main game. Square Enix specifically does that a lot, but most games don't do that. So it's a very specific situation to this game.
Gotcha.
But I think like just regardless of that feature, like, you know, messing up my experience to a degree, the game still was too long. So anyway, but I did come to really enjoy the combat system by the end, because yesterday morning before I started playing, I watched like a tips and tricks video, and it made me realize like I'd been kind of going about it all wrong, and I kind of wish the game had done more to tell me that I was doing it wrong. Because once I got that down, I was like, oh, there's so much more variety in what I can do than I think that I can. So to discover that, like, I really quite enjoyed playing it the past 2 days, which was a nice change of pace from like dreading playing it for, you know, 2 months. So yeah, the game turned out better than I expected. I still have it out for those small, slow moments because, like, seriously, like, what, you know, what were they thinking on those parts? But overall, I do think I am going to look back on this positively, but I'll never play it again. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. And that's kind of it. That's the only game I've actually played in the last 4 days. So, yeah, I suppose that's my update.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Can I take a bathroom break?
Sure. Go.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to try and fill the space during your bathroom break. So, dear listener, here I am. I'm going to talk to you about, I've been watching some of the DC movies that have come out recently. So, DC has been making movies for a while now in this connected universe, and there's this whole thing going on where they're rebooting all of it. Supposedly, the Flash movie that just came out, a month or 2 months ago, was supposed to reset everything. I still have not seen the Flash, but I did watch Shazam! Fury of the Gods last night, and I gotta say, did not really like it that much, and I didn't think I was gonna like it that much, but then it made me think, like, it was something that I finished it last night. I didn't necessarily watch it last night because I've been watching it before I go to sleep and just falling asleep to it because it's just, you know, something to play in the background, fall asleep to. So I finished that, and now I'm going to watch Black Adam, doing basically the same thing. But once The Flash is streaming, I think it's supposed to go into streaming on August 25th, which is in 5 days from when we're recording. I will actually sit and watch that. I'm not going to fall asleep to it. But yeah, and then Blue Beetle just came out this weekend, and I might go watch that, but I also might not. And we also watched Transformers Rise of the Beasts. In general, like, just kind of trying to catch up on all the blockbuster movies that we did not see that came out, and kind of realizing why we did not see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were not good.
Oh, you're back from your break?
I am. My apologies. My bladder's not what it used to be.
All good. Yeah, I talked about Shazam 2 in that regrettable experience.
Okay. Ready to get into these assignments?
Yes.
I don't know what's first.
Last week we talked about Uncharted 4 first, which means we are talking about your assignment first this week. So
Okay.
that would be Reservation Dogs.
Okay.
So, to start things off, I was assigned Reservation Dogs. It's on Hulu. This is a show, and the show follows a group of Native American teenagers living in Oklahoma as they navigate their day-to-day life, and they have dreams of saving up their money, moving to California, but that goal overall seems pretty secondary to the show, just establishing its characters and their relationships and kind of taking this slice of life approach to just, what is their life? What kinds of things do they experience? And, who are the people in these people's lives? And that's kind of the overarching plot that I've been able to ascertain 5 episodes in. It's got 3 seasons, and they just had their final. The 3rd season was the final season. Mm-hmm. I believe the first season is 8 episodes, second season's 8 episodes, and the last season is 4 episodes, something like
I'm not
that.
Sure.
That's what I saw on Hulu. Okay. Second season could be 10 episodes.
The 3rd season might not be over because it started early this month.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. My bad. Didn't realize that. It looked like it was done, but that's just like...
I mean, I could be wrong. But it did come out August 2nd, I think.
Oh, okay. So it just came out. All right.
Yeah.
Scratch that. I just don't know anything. But yeah, having watched the first 5 episodes of the 8-episode first season, I feel like I got a good sense of like what the show is. Mm-hmm. So the group of teenagers is... There's Bear, Alora Dannon, Willie Jack, and Cheese. And they each kind of have their own thing. So Bear, for instance, he sees himself as the leader of the group, and he lives with his mom, and she's just trying to make sure that he's happy. He's got a dad, but his dad is a rapper that lives in LA and is generally just kind of like a crusty dude that can't be relied on at all.
Not crusty.
I
know. Dang.
Sometimes Bear has these like spirit visions from one of his ancestors, and those are pretty fun and just kind of like simple and silly to just kind of like tell him like what he needs to be doing. Alora Dannon seems to be the only one. She's the only one in the group that seems actually serious about moving to California. I don't know a lot about what her home life is like yet, but I suspect that probably plays a big part into why she wants to move to California. She did have like a weird uncle, right? Was that her uncle?
Yeah, that's her uncle.
She had a weird uncle that he like knows how to fight people. So we learned about him because Bear wants to learn how to like beat up the rival gang because they beat him up. But yeah, not a ton on Alora Dannon at the moment. There's also Willie Jack. She knows a lot of people. She seems to have a lot of family that do a lot of like specific things like make meat pies or make necklaces. And she's overall just kind of like a funny kid, but same thing, like don't know a lot about her home life. And then there's Cheese, who may be my favorite of the bunch. He just kind of goes with the flow. He's got this chill attitude. He like goes for a ride along with the local police officer, and he's like wanting to be a detective. And he's just like a funny little kid,
What I absolutely love about Cheese is anytime he introduces himself, he goes, "My pronouns are he, him, his," and I'm like, I love him.
Yeah.
What a cutie.
Yeah, he like says that to an older guy, and the older guy's like, "Oh, hey, same."
Like an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah.
Precious boy.
Yeah, there's a part in the 2nd episode where they're in a health clinic, and he's walking through the halls, and this older woman is like, "Son, is that you?" And he's like, "Oh, grandson, yeah." And he's like, "Oh," and he just kind of goes along with it.
Yeah.
And he just like keeps her company, and he like takes her outside, and he's like, "God, it's my grandma, guys." But it's like it's not his grandma, you know. So he's a charming little guy.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of side characters too. Like there's Bear's mom, there's Big, the police officer that Cheese went on the ride along with. There's the salvage yard guys. There's these two dudes that are always riding their bikes around that just kind of like show up and are like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
They're also rappers.
Yeah.
I love them.
And then there's a rival gang of teenagers that always seem to have it out for these guys. So, yeah, that's kind of the basic setup. Like I said, like there's no real like overarching thing that's driving the plot forward. It's really just like their lives. I would say the closest thing that there is that would be, I guess, motivating characters is this California moving fund. And it seems like from where I'm at, like Laura Dannon is going to, the fact that she is the most interested and most serious about moving to California, like it feels like that plot point is going to come to fruition at some point, potentially drive a wedge between her and the other characters a bit more. It's like slowly, like she gets upset every time they spend money because she, wants to go to California, and they're like, well, it's our money. And so that's the closest thing there is to an overarching plot overall, but it's not the main focus of the show isn't like, how are we making money today,
Yeah.
So overall, my thoughts, I do like this show. I don't know how I feel about the lack of focus. Like, that's not necessarily bad, because like slice of life is its own thing, its own genre. And that means like you could just kind of put something on and just be with it, be present, not looking for something specific. It's just kind of like, what are these characters going to get up to today? And that is nice. And I do actually, well, now that I've said that, I think that actually makes a ton of sense for how to approach this show, because it kind of turns the primary goal of the show to shedding light on the Native American experience. And we don't get a lot of stories that are told from that perspective. Native Americans are usually just kind of like some side character that has to fulfill some kind of specific purpose because they're Native American, which is not a good place, like not a good box for people to be putting Native Americans into. So it is interesting to watch a show that's just like straight up, just like, here's the life of people that live on a reservation and, the struggles and experiences that they have.
And allows for there to be humor in it.
Yeah. And I do really like learning about the characters and their relationships. Everybody is charming in their own way. I will say, well, before I just made that profound point about the slice of life being the perfect way to approach the Native American experience in media, I was going to say like that. Before I was thinking that, I was thinking about how, like, if I recommended the show to somebody, I wasn't sure what I would say to make it sound like interesting and worth watching as for someone's time, because most people are looking for like, oh, like the main characters go on this quest to do this, or they have to go do that. Oh, that's really interesting. So I was kind of like struggling with like, how would I explain the appeal of this show to someone? But I just, from speaking out loud, I think I found it. So
yeah. The appeal is that like, we don't have anything like this. There is no content that's like, the experiences of Native American people, indigenous people, let alone like, this is the first piece of content, the first piece of entertainment, the first TV show to be written by, like directed by, acted by nothing but indigenous people. And so like that in and of itself is the reason to watch it. Like, you know, like it's like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. This is something so different. We haven't had this ever. Like, it's so cool to see what they've created and to, you know, get a glimpse of a world that exists, but that like we don't see.
Right.
You know?
It's an experience that, you know, is lived in parallel with our own.
Yeah.
That we just don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
And most of how we learn about the experiences of other people is from like either speaking with them and like knowing people who live that experience,
mm-hmm.
or watching it in some form of media or reading
mm-hmm.
about it, or, you know, something like that.
And we all know that that's not the most accurate in terms of like learning about this in history.
Oh, right,
has not been
right.
told in the most accurate way. like you got to think about like what we know about it. If it's not coming from somebody who is indigenous, who has shared their experiences, most oftentimes has been told in a way that has not been correct.
The perspective,
or from
the
a
perspective is biased towards,
exactly.
you know, the colonizer.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's so important to shed light on this experience and to have these voices heard. One thing I wanted to mention though in your description of the plot that I think is really important is kind of the very beginning of it, which you lose it a little bit in the kind of like the middle of the episodes of the season, but it comes back pretty heavily second season. But it's the fact that their friend Daniel died.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did mention that they had a friend Daniel that died.
Yeah, who is actually Willie Jack's brother.
Oh.
I think I have that correctly. Willie Jack's brother. And trigger warning. I think it's mentioned that it was suicide.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't. So
What, really?
Should have been a spoiler warning.
Sorry, spoiler warning too.
Yeah.
My bad. I thought it was mentioned in this season.
No, I didn't know anything about that.
Okay, my bad. I might be wrong too. Someone double check me. I thought it was. But anyways, you start to see it in the beginning.
All they say, actually, now that you mention it, all they say is like, this place killed him.
Got you.
They don't say.
They don't specify.
No.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
I'm a little upset with you.
I'm
right
sorry. Anyway, you start to like it is impacting them all very differently.
Right.
And hard in different ways. And I think right now you're not seeing it, but as you keep watching, it starts to kind of unravel a little bit. And you start to see it more and more. And so like your point of like, well, right now there's not really this kind of like plot, like you're seeing like slice of life. It starts to become a little bit more focused and you start to like dive deeper. And like you mentioned, like you don't really know too much about people's home lives. You start to see that a little bit more. And you start to like peel back the layers and really see these kids as you get into it.
That's kind of what I figured was going to happen. Like with this approach, it kind of gives every character room to have their own kind of like backstory revealed. Mm-hmm. It's not going straight into like, here's everybody's backstory, now proceed. It's like, it's just placing characters in situations, and slowly you spend more time with some characters than you're normally used to spending time with, and you learn a bit like about why they are the way that they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out Reservation Dogs on Hulu.
It's fantastic. I absolutely love this show. I love it so much. It's so good.
I'll keep watching it, especially with like the shorter episodes. Yeah. It's not gonna take that long to finish, so
no, it makes me so sad. I wonder why they're only doing they did so few seasons, and I truly hope that
once this final season wraps up, that this is not the last we see of any of these actors. Like,
oh yeah, I hope not
I
either.
really hope we see them in more things. I hope there's more stories like this. Like, it will be such a shame if this is all that there ends up being. And I mean, I can't imagine that this is it. Like, I can't imagine like we would go back to not having any. And I mean, like, I think about that like new Leonardo DiCaprio movie, which I hate. I hate to name it as like the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, but
Yeah, I can't even call it the Martin Scorsese movie without it.
I
But
forget
it's
the
like,
name of it. Yeah,
yeah, but Killing of the Flower Moon, I think it's called, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure what the plot is, but
Yeah, I mean, it focuses on this group of Native Americans who the land that they live on is rich with oil.
yeah,
And they get rich from the oil, but then, the white man being the white man is like, I want some of that oil for myself so that I can become rich.
yeah,
And so they come to wreak havoc on this Native American community so that they can get themselves rich. Which, if that's not the story of America, then I don't know what is.
yeah. Well, I hope that there's more space in Hollywood for indigenous writers and creators and directors and actors to be able to like share their stories, share their knowledge, share their way of storytelling like with the rest of the world, and like just to have the space to just like share their awesome things that they have to share. Because I want to hear it. I want to consume it. Like,
yeah, you've been saying for a while now, like for a few years, like you want to learn more about the Native American experience.
I really do. And like, I honestly hate that I still have not like invested the time in doing it, because it's just like, I don't know, it's just so important to, like, I just feel like they often go so overlooked, and just like their way of knowing is just like so marginalized and just like discounted. And it's like, for what? Like, why? It just like makes me so upset. Because I'm like, they were here before anybody was. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it just frustrates me that people came here and was like, we're just going to take everything you have, and then like, we'll give you permission to like live in this little space, and like, we'll give you these things and just stay here. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it just baffles me. And I'm like, I want to be the best advocate that I can. And the only way to do that is to educate myself. And so that's what I need to do. And I need to take the time to do it and stop talking about it and just actually put in the work. So that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, so hopefully I get to that very soon.
Well, any facts that you have?
So I don't have too many facts. Like I said, this was the first series ever to have all indigenous writers, directors, and actors. It is entirely shot in Oklahoma. And the only other fact that I have is that Bear's address is 1491, and that's because Christopher Columbus came in 1492. So 1491 was like the last year that, Native people were thriving on their own before colonization and all of that happened.
Dang, that's rough.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's deep.
It is deep. Yeah. So that is all that I have for Reservation Dogs. I wish I had more facts. But yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool. Check it out, Reservation Dogs.
Yes.
It's worth a watch.
Definitely worth a watch.
It's at first I was kind of like, what's the point behind what I'm watching?
Mm-hmm.
But once it is not hard to get through these episodes.
Yeah.
And once we got far enough, I was like, oh, I like this. Like, I want to learn more about what's going on with these characters. So,
it's funny. It'll have you crying. Like, it'll have you just like wanting to give every character a hug. Like, it's just so good. It makes you feel all the things.
Yeah. Watch a few episodes. Check it out.
Yeah.
All right, would you like to move on?
Yes, I forgot. I have to say things now. All right.
Have fun. It's okay. I have a ton of notes, so at some point during this, I am going to also be saying a lot of things.
Gotcha. All right, so I was assigned The Raid Redemption, which came out in 2011. And this
came out in 2012.
Everything I saw said 2011.
Okay, go on.
So this is an Indonesian film that follows a guy named Rama, who is a rookie on a special elite force that's kind of basically like SWAT team, that takes down bad guys as like a SWAT team would. And so him and his team are on this special mission to take down this like huge drug/crime lord named Tama, who owns this apartment building and allows other criminals to basically like seek refuge there. And so the team manages to infiltrate and get into the building, or infiltrate the building. But soon after they like get into the building, they basically get busted by a kid who screams like police. And so this leads to Tama, who is like watching everything that's happening on a bunch of screens on like the 15th floor or something. He makes an announcement basically telling all residents to like kill these police officers, the SWAT team for free rent for the rest of their lives, which like low-key, I was like, free rent?
I'd be out there, tell me where they're at. That's what you said while we were watching it.
I was like, the way rent prices are nowadays, like I might get out there.
Oh my gosh.
No, I would never. But I would consider it maybe for a brief second. So because he is offering folks free rent for the rest of their lives if they kill this SWAT team, they're like, heck yeah. So this basically leads to like a whole John Wick situation where like everyone is after these SWAT team guys and tons of people on both sides. So the bad guys and the SWAT team are dying. They're just like murdering each other. And because Rama is just like so smart and gifted at martial arts, it basically becomes up to him to save like the remaining SWAT team members that have not died during this whole fiasco. And so that's kind of what we watched throughout the whole movie. But something to note is that we do find out that one of the SWAT team members named, and I might be pronouncing this wrong, Wayu.
Yep.
Yeah, he basically like led the SWAT team into this death trap. So this was not like an official sanctioned mission. He actually set this up for his own benefit. So he was trying to get a promotion, but like the police is basically corrupt, and so like he was never going to get that promotion. So all this was really for nothing, and he's responsible for all the blood that was shed. And we also later find out in the movie that one of Tama's like main henchmen, whose name is Andy,
he's got two henchmen, Andy and Mad Dog.
Yeah. So Andy actually turns out to be Rama's brother.
Rama, the main character?
Yeah, our main character. And Andy's pretty nice. He's pretty good too. He helps them out in the end. And so that was cool. But basically by the end of the movie, Wayu ends up shooting Tama, and then another trigger warning, tries to shoot himself, but does so unsuccessfully because he ran out of bullets. And so then that basically leaves Wayu, Rama, and another SWAT team member, which I forget his name. I didn't write it down.
Dagu?
Yes. They are the last...
Oh, no, my bad. No, Dagu got killed. My bad. The other SWAT team member. I forgot his name.
Yeah, another SWAT team member who is very severely injured, but still alive. They are the last remaining...
Bowo.
There we go. They're the last surviving SWAT team members, and Andy helps them leave the apartment. And so they, survive. Wayu, I think, gets arrested. Is that what happens?
Well,
or like,
let's see. Rama leaves with Bowo and Wayu, and that's kind of it. That's like they walk out, and Andy tells them to get in contact with this guy, Boonwar.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I had to look up a synopsis
Boonwar.
online because I couldn't remember some details, and it said that why you got arrested, and I was like, I don't remember that happening, but let me write it down.
Not really.
Okay. They lied to me. Anyway, that's essentially the movie. So overall, I loved this movie. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yes. I might have mentioned this before in a previous episode, but I love a good, simple movie where there is one setting and one objective.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie is just like, we are going to stay in this one place until this objective is complete. I love those kinds of movies.
Yeah,
and so the
simple.
fact that this was that kind of movie, we're in this building, we have this goal, it's just like survive and possibly get this bad guy if we can. Like, that was great. And it's like action packed from the minute that it starts to the minute that it ends. I loved it. It was so great. Like I said, it gives off John Wick vibes. I love John Wick.
This came out before John Wick, as one actually I should point out.
I believe it. Yeah. Gives off John Wick. If you like John Wick and you have not seen this movie, check this movie out because that's the energy it gives, but with much better combat. No offense to Keanu Reeves, but yeah, much better combat. There's like we mentioned, this is a like martial arts movie. It's not just martial arts. There's a lot of like guns, like shooting. And at first it was heavy on the shooting, and I was like, you said this was a martial arts movie. But then when the martial arts kicks in, it kicks in, and it's like full martial arts for the rest of the movie. Yeah. And like we joked around and we were like, those stuntmen are dead. But like literally they were like, they had to be dead.
Yeah, the fight sequences are so intense and hardcore that it's like, I don't know how they could have filmed this without literally killing people.
Literally. I'm like, this is the best performance ever. Like, how did they make it look so real without actually getting injured, like dying? Like, it is crazy. And like the way that it's shot, like you mentioned, at first I didn't notice it, but you mentioned like, because there's parts where like they make a hole in the floor and like jump through the floor, and then they jump through the hole, and like the camera goes through the hole too, or like the camera will go through a window when they jump through a window. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, you're like, it's like you're a person there. Yeah.
So I actually did find a piece of trivia on this. They shot it with the camera like on the ground, like documentary style. You know, the camera is never like high up looking down at people. It's always like ground level.
Yeah.
Which it does give it this very like grounded feel. They also like they didn't shoot it with a steady cam to also kind of add this feeling of like realism.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. It was so good. I just loved it. I also want to mention, so like what I loved about this movie is the main character. And like for me, like I said in another episode, and I think this is, I don't remember what episode it was, but I was talking about how like if you're gonna give me an action-packed movie, I have to care about the character. Like, and if I don't care about the character, if the story's not there, I have a really hard time with it. It might have been Mission Impossible. So here the storyline's like, the plot's kind of like, it's like typical plot. Yeah. It's nothing special.
But like Rama's got a pregnant wife at home, so like.
But here's the thing.
You don't want him to die.
Here's the thing, because like really, there's not a lot to Rama's character. You get a really quick glimpse of his personal life in the first 1 minute. Like they briefly show his wife, and you see that she's pregnant, and he's like doing some push-ups or whatever. Like that's so brief. And he doesn't have that much dialogue, but I think what makes what they do effectively that makes you care about the character, that made me really care about the character, that like made me sold on the movie, is like he has these really brief moments of how he treats others, and it's juxtaposed with how other people on his team is treating that same person, or other people on the team are like talking to each other. So for example, there's like a guy who is just a resident, and like he is obviously not a bad person. He's just trying to get like into the building to get his wife medicine. And Rama's like the other guy, the other SWAT team member is like being rough with the guy and like trying not to let him in. And Rama's like, yo, like he'll stay with me. Like, calm down. He's a resident. We'll get into his room or whatever. We'll get into his apartment. And it's like a small moment like that being juxtaposed with like how the other guy reacted made all the difference. Because like I said, there's not much dialogue. There's not enough given to me of like who Rama is and like why I should care about him.
I love that Rama's like good naturedness to those around him is also being juxtaposed with his ability to straight up murder people.
I know. He was just crushing them.
There are two amazing hallway fight sequences in this movie where he is just in constant battle, and it just like minutes on minutes on minutes of him just straight up fighting these dudes. And every single time he takes one of them out, it is some like inventive kill that you were like, oh god, jeez. And like that just makes it a ton of fun to watch.
You're like, oh, what a sweet man. Oh my gosh, he just did that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
But he's so sweet. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. They crafted a great main character, I think, with what little dialogue and like interaction he did have aside from like his like martial arts and everything.
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Nice.
I wonder what the second one's about.
Yeah. This movie, it came out at exactly the right time. So, yeah, it did. So it was made in 2011, and it debuted at the Toronto Film Festival in 2011, which is then when Sony Pictures Classics decided to distribute it. And so I first saw it in a theater March 2012. Oh. Yeah. And it was only released apparently in like 24 theaters or something.
I've literally never heard of this.
Yeah, so one of the theaters, like the theater that I went to as a kid, like growing up in my area, had this movie. And they had a midnight showing. And so my brother, his friend, and I went and saw it at a midnight screening. And we thought it was awesome. And it came out at like just the right time for me because I had just been getting into martial arts movies. Like I was a senior in high school. So I was just getting into martial arts movies. Like I just watched Ip Man for the first time. And I was like watching as many martial arts movies as I could find on Netflix because like Netflix streaming was getting really big at that time. So yeah, I saw a trailer for this, and I saw that it was going to be like one of the 24 theaters was literally the one that I go to. So we went and saw it, and we were like, that movie was awesome. Like, wow. And I even took some of my friends to go see it after that. And like, you know, I saw it again in the theater because I was like blown away. And one of my friends that I took to see it that day, he loved it so much, and he was like really into martial arts. Like he actually knew martial arts. He loved it so much that he went and saw it again that same day. Like we saw it in the afternoon, and then he went and saw it again at like 10 at night.
That's awesome.
He loved it. And I remember when I moved into my undergrad, like I was a transfer student in undergrad, and so I moved in summer 2014 and with my roommates, and who I was already friends with all of them. So like, imagine a like group of guys all living in a house, and sometimes we're watching movies, and my like first recommendation was like, guys, we gotta watch this movie, Raid Redemption. And that was like the most fun. Like all of us just sitting in the living room like, and we're all like cracking up, like looking at each other like, dude. And the Raid 2 came out right before that, and so I like, they knew that there was also the Raid 2 to watch, so like it was just a great time. Like we were all just stoked on it, like, oh my god, the Raid 1 was so good, we gotta watch the Raid 2. So the Raid 2 was a sequel. It like came out 2014. I think I saw it March 2014, so they churned out a sequel in 2 years. And I will say the Raid 2 might be better than the Raid 1.
Really?
Yeah, I love the Raid 2. I mean, I love the Raid 1, but the Raid 2 is like,
wow,
it's delicious.
Wow.
Like, I think when the Raid 2 came out, like, I was on spring break, and I was taking a trip down the coast of California to visit some friends, and the movie, like, opened that weekend. And it was only playing in a handful of theaters, and I happened to be in LA when it was premiering, and so I got to catch it there, which was really awesome.
That's awesome.
And what else was it? I guess I've got some facts about like the making of the movie.
Can I just say before you get into some of the other facts, like, no movie has ever made me want to get physically fit like this movie has. And like, I think about, there's a scene where Rama and his brother Andy are fighting Mad Dog, and they are fighting for a while. And there you see the exhaustion, and they keep going, and they are just like taking these brutal hits, but like they just like get back up and keep fighting. And I was like, I want the stamina to do that. Like, I want that endurance.
Yeah, they are beasts. The guy that plays Mad Dog, his name's Yayan Ruhian. He is a beast. I got notes on him.
Wild. So he was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, what a guy.
So we didn't really talk about Mad Dog in your summary of the movie, but it's like Andy and Mad Dog are kind of like, the lead henchmen, but it's I like that idea of like these two lead henchmen so much. It's because it's like, you've got like the big bad guy, and then he's got like his two generals. And
it's like the brain and the brawn.
The brain and the brawn, right?
Yeah.
And the main character and his brother, who is one of the two generals, like have to fight Mad Dog, and it takes the two of them in order to get that done. And Mad Dog was just like, he's so cool. And it's also like, what I also like about the fact that he named the character Mad Dog is just like that there's kind of like this trend of like lead henchman characters in certain things having the name like Mad Dog or Wild Dog, and it just kind of felt like, it made it kind of almost feel like a video game kind of thing. Like, there's another action movie that I really like. It's a John Woo action movie made in 1993 out of Hong Kong called Hard Boiled. There's a lead henchman in that, nasty fellow. His name is Mad Dog.
Wow.
Or like the Time Crisis games, there's a guy who's like a recurring lead henchman, never the full main bad guy, but like a recurring henchman, and he's like Wild Dog. I mean, it's different name, but like it's close enough to acknowledge. It's like just Mad Dog or Wild Dog, whatever. Like I was like, oh yeah, like Mad Dog is the perfect name for this character.
Yeah. The crazy thing about Mad Dog too is like when you think of a typical you have a henchman who's like the brawn, you think of a big man who's like, gonna like beat down somebody. Like Mad Dog is like the tiniest guy. Like I was like, when he came out, I was like, that dude has to be like 110 pounds, like max.
He's like 5'4" or something. Yeah, he's really short.
And like he's he's so calm, and he just like walks up and he's like, I don't like to use guns. Let's just use our hands. And then he literally just like keeps going and just destroys, and like it is wild. I'm like, oh my gosh, how terrifying. But awesome at the same time.
Yeah, so I'll get into Mad Dog in a second, but I'll just kind of start with my facts. So yeah, for most of the movie, this is probably like the most popular movie to ever come out of Indonesia specifically. For most of the movie, the fighters are using Pencak Silat, which is the indigenous fighting style of Indonesia. All of the SWAT team members that like are there at the beginning of the movie and then are not at the end, they all went through like a training with the Indonesian Spec Ops to learn like weapon use and hand signals, which I thought was really funny to read because you were like, when they were doing hand signals, you're like, what do those hand signals even mean? All right, and just a couple more pieces of trivia before I really get into the actors and stuff. The camera turns 180 degrees in a few of the fight sequences, which made it really hard to light the scenes. So they actually use these lights on these long poles and would just have the lighting crew move with the camera. So you just imagine like there's a camera dude and there's like some dudes holding these long light poles that are like running around the room as you're fighting.
That's funny. The things you do to get the shot.
Right. So after the movie was at the Toronto Film Festival and Sony Pictures Classics decided to distribute it, they also brought in two guys to do the score, which was, I think it was Joseph Trapanese, who he's done a lot of different stuff. Like he worked with Daft Punk on the Tron Legacy soundtrack, as well as some other projects, but also Mike Shinoda. And if you don't know who Mike Shinoda is, he is one of the co-founders of a little band called Linkin Park.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, one of the band members of Linkin Park like co-scored this movie.
How random.
That is very random. Okay, anyway, so now for the actual like crew. So the guy that directed this movie, his name is Gareth Evans. He's actually a Welsh director. He's not Indonesian.
Wait, can I stop you for a second? So was this movie released in Indonesia like before and then it just got released again?
No, it's like a typical like independent film where they take it to a film festival and then a distributing company sees it at the film festival and says, we're going to distribute this in multiple territories.
Okay.
So it was distributed in Indonesia, but like if they hadn't taken it to a film festival and Sony, if Sony didn't notice it and say we want to distribute it, I never would have seen it in a theater, right? In America.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, was it made in Indonesia and like released in Indonesia, and then like in order to get it to America, they had to take it to the festival, and then that's when all these people
they just
add
took
stuff to it.
They took it to a festival, and a lot of the time a distributing company will like choose to distribute, and like sometimes the cut that's shown at a film festival isn't even like finished, for example. It's almost like it's a way to say like, hey, please like distribute my movie, like pitch your movie.
Yeah.
It's also a way to say like, here's what we've done, and if you throw a little bit more money at it, it can be a little better.
Gotcha.
Which I guess is kind of the situation here.
Okay.
Like originally the movie was just called The Raid. Yeah. And when they picked it up, they were like, well, we actually can't get the rights to distribute it as The Raid, so they called it The Raid Redemption. Which, yeah, it was kind of funny. Which is funny, especially because, like, The Raid 2 is just called The Raid 2.
Yeah, I was like, what's the redemption part of it?
I don't know. Is there any redeeming going on here?
Yeah. I was like, what?
It just rolls off the tongue. I mean, originally the name was Serbuan Mat, which means, like, deadly raid in Indonesian. But yeah.
They couldn't name the movie Deadly Raid?
No, I guess not. The Raid Redemption was alliterative and rolled off the tongue, I guess. That's my guess. Yeah. So the guy that directed this movie, Gareth Evans, as I said, he's a Welsh director. He's not Indonesian. So it's an interesting story of like how this guy ended up making this movie. So he was making kind of like short films and independent films in the 2000s. And then in 2007, he was working as a freelance director. So, he could be hired to do anything, right? Mm-hmm. He was hired to direct a Silat documentary, Silat being the martial art that's native to Indonesia. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he was hired to direct a Silat documentary. And through that experience, like, that's when he built these relationships with people. He grew an appreciation for it. And he's like, why is nobody making like an action movie using Silat? Mm-hmm. And so that's just kind of how it happened.
Wow. That's cool.
He just had like a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And capitalized on it and made like the biggest Indonesian film ever made.
Wow.
Well, I don't know if that's a fact, but it's the only Indonesian film that I like currently know of. But it's also there's another point that I'm going to bring up later that's kind of like, oh, it's the first Indonesian film to have this happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm not there yet. So
to win an Oscar?
No. Oh. So Iko Uwais, I think that's how you say his name. Mm-hmm. He's the actor that plays Rama, the main character. Mm-hmm. He owned a Silat school, and he like won the national championship for like Silat demonstration in 2005. Mm-hmm. And in 2007, when Gareth Evans was filming the Silat documentary, he stopped at Iko's school. Mm-hmm. So Iko had a Silat school. He also was working as a driver for a telecommunications company. That was like his day job. Mm-hmm. And when Gareth Evans met him and was interviewing him and like checking out his school, he was like, dude, you should quit your day job and star in movies with me. And that's what they did.
Oh my gosh.
So first they made a movie called Marantau together, mm-hmm. and then they did The Raid Redemption, and then they did The Raid 2.
Wow.
And so Yayan Ruhian, who plays Mad Dog, this man is a beast. So he actually taught Silat to the Indonesian Secret Service in 1989.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And he also
the Secret Service just like new martial arts.
Right. Right.
Does
like
our Secret Service know martial arts?
I don't know. But he taught the Secret Service, like the people who were protecting the president of Indonesia. He like led a class like teaching them Silat in 1989, and he did the same for the military police corps in the early 90s. So
that's dope.
He's also known for the use of this like special inner breathing technique.
Yeah.
Which the purpose of the inner breathing technique is to basically like be able to withstand any kind of hit and like not really be fazed by it. It's almost like a pain suppression technique, which kind of explains like how his character is such a beast in this movie, because he takes so many hits, but it seems like it just bounces right off of him.
He is literally Gojo.
Right. No, yeah, he's right. That like this. I mean, that's like a Goku Dragon Ball Z move.
Oh my
you know, like that's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he was actually, when they made Marantau, the first movie that Gareth Evans and Iko Uwais did together, Yayan Ruhian was hired as a fight choreographer for that. And then they needed a guy to play like this specific role in that movie. And he ended up auditioning for the role because like they needed somebody that could also fight and act. Mm-hmm. And, he primarily was just fighting, but he could act well enough. And so, yeah, he ended up getting the role, which then led to, him and Gareth Evans continuing to work together. And so they did. So Mad Dog's character dies at the end of The Raid Redemption because he's like, the final boss. Mm-hmm. But in The Raid 2, Yayan Ruhian is also in The Raid 2 as a completely different character. What? Yeah. His character has like long hair and like a very long beard to basically be like, it's not Mad Dog, it's this other guy. But he has his character in the Raid 2 has his own like specific fight scene, and it's just massive and awesome.
Oh my gosh.
So in John Wick 3, yeah, have you seen John Wick 3?
I've seen all the John Wicks.
Okay, so okay, Raid 1 was made 2012 or came out 2012. Raid 2 came out 2014. John Wick 1 came out after the Raid 2. Anyway, John Wick 3 at the end of the movie, before he takes on the Iron Chef, that Mark Dacascos, who is like the Iron Chef, who is like the final boss of John Wick 3. Before he takes on him, he takes on these two lead henchmen, and both of those lead henchmen are like, it's an honor, Mr. Wick. Do you remember that part at all?
No.
Okay, both of those two lead henchmen, one of them is played by Yayan Ruhian, who played Mad Dog in the Raid 1. The other guy was the final boss fight character in the Raid 2. So basically, that part, I like lost it in the movies because I had no idea that these guys were like going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, like John Wick is taking on the final boss fight characters of the Raid 1 and the Raid 2.
There's no way he should have won that.
Simultaneously. Huh?
There's no way he should have won that.
The final boss fight guy in Raid 2 is also just as nasty. It's
my gosh.
But it's like, oh, this is incredible.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves cannot beat that. What a lie. I mean, I love Keanu.
Yeah.
But like, no way.
Yeah. Okay, so Iko Uwais and Yayan Ruhian are also briefly in Star Wars Episode 7.
What?
But they have zero fight scenes, which I thought was like the weirdest thing.
Aww.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because there's that scene where Rey like kind of meets Han Solo, and Han Solo is running away from like some guys that are like bounty hunters, I guess, that are trying to like he owes them something, and they're like, hey Solo, you owe us. And those two main guys are played by Iko Uwais and Yayan Ruhian, and it's like, what are they doing here? And why are we wasting their potential on like this very short scene? You know?
I mean, I'm sure the people working on the movie are just like, we're just fans.
Oh
like,
yeah,
give them the opportunity.
I am
but
sure
also,
they were
like, we have no reason to have martial arts like
I know, but
in
like,
this movie.
So imagine me as a fan, of Star Wars and the Raid, knowing that these guys were cast in this movie. I was like, yo, Star Wars Episode 7 is about to be, so lit. Yeah. I was like, you guys don't even know the fight sequences are about to be on 10 in Star Wars Episode 7.
They would just like
and
breathe
they didn't even do anything.
They could breathe on Harrison Ford, he'd tip over. Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
They would break that man.
I mean, they didn't have to be cast as these bounty hunters. They could have been. They could have been in. They could have been in stormtrooper suits or something. And like
the stormtroopers do nothing.
They could have played
the
Jedi.
Stormtroopers are the worst.
I'm just saying, like they really. It would have been awesome.
Suck.
I know.
Like when I sit and I watch these movies over again, I'm like, stormtroopers suck.
Yeah, but there is a cool fight sequence in Episode 7 where Finn has a fight with a stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper's like, traitor, and like, I don't, maybe they tapped the potential of those guys for like some fight choreography on that part, but like, I don't know, I just wish they'd done more with that. Anyway, moving along. So yeah, this movie kind of became like a gold standard for hardcore action movies after it was released. So to the point where when they were making Michael Bay Ninja Turtles,
oh my gosh,
the producers in interviews were like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be so awesome. We're gonna have raid like fight scenes." And I remember reading that and being like, "Yo, the new Ninja Turtles is about to be lit." Which could not have been farther from the truth. Like, it just did not end up being that.
Like, why did he set himself up for that?
I know.
Like, why would he make a statement like claim? Like, that's too strong of a claim.
It's too strong of a claim, yeah. But, like, as a fan of Ninja Turtles and a fan of the Raid, and you know how intense the Raid is. Somebody says like, yeah, we're gonna have like Raid like fight scenes in Ninja Turtles.
I bet you.
Stoked.
I bet you after that interview, he was like, "Why did I say that? I regret everything. Can you cut that out?
That just like,
Can that be off the record?"
yeah. Anyway, to send this whole thing to fruition from what I was saying earlier, the first Indonesian film too. So this is the first Indonesian film to have an American remake in development. So, like, you know, some foreign films will get made and Americans will see that foreign film and ruin them. Yeah. They'll adapt their own version, like Old Boy, for example, and
like,
it
why?
just sucks. And it's like, why are we doing this? Right. But if this American remake ever does actually get made, it'll be the first Indonesian film to be remade in America. Now, this American remake has basically been in development hell since it was first announced. And it was announced very, very, very long ago. So it's actually quite interesting. Gareth Evans actually sold the rights to the American-made adaptation of The Raid 1 to help fund the making of The Raid 2. So, did you catch all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that's like a huge gamble. But clearly, I think it paid off because The Raid 2 is awesome. The Raid, like, the whole point, like, The Raid 1 was made on a very limited budget. Like, they had to keep it small and tight and simple. The Raid 2 is like, you know,
Bigger.
they just had they had a bigger budget. There's more story going on, all of that.
Yeah.
So I think it paid off because, like, yeah, he sold the rights to an American-made like adaptation of the first one to get the second one out, and nobody wants to see a remake of the first one get made in the first place. So, and it hasn't been made yet, which I think like, you know, speaks to that. However, it like apparently it's still in development. Like it's in pre-production. It's supposed to be directed and written by the guy that directed The Expendables 3 and The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Okay, no.
Yeah, right.
We don't want it.
So many different actors have been in talks to like star in this movie, like Taylor Kitsch. They
Who was that?
yeah, exactly. He's an actor. Taylor Kitsch and like multiple other people. The one that stands out as like me remembering it when I read it the most was like Taylor Kitsch, and I was like, if they put Taylor Kitsch in this movie, he played what's it called? John Mars. The oh my god, what was that movie called? I'm looking it up right now. The movie where the guy goes to Mars. John Carter. Do you remember John Carter?
No.
Well, never mind.
Let me see his face.
He was the lead character in Battleship.
Okay, I literally have never seen that man a day in my life.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Kind of speaks to like, yeah, if Taylor Kitsch was in this movie, would not want to see it.
Sorry to that man.
Apparently, both of the Hemsworth brothers were, yeah, like. Anyway, nobody wants to see this movie get made, but there's a director attached. And
Are they supposed to do martial arts?
Apparently. I don't. Oh yeah, so like Gareth Evans is attached as an executive producer, and they said that they would want like the fight choreographers from the original film to be involved with the making of this movie, but like I don't know, like it just doesn't need to be made.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if there's like a serious opportunity for money to be made there, and it, like for it to benefit the people that made the original movie, which like, you know, didn't make a ton of money, then great. But like, I don't know. I'd rather just see the Raid 3 get made, and for that to like make a lot of money.
Yeah. Why do we need?
We don't.
Need it? Because like honestly, I feel like the Raid was like if you combined the Warriors with John Wick.
Right.
That's what it was.
Right.
We already have that.
Yeah.
We don't need
and Dredd, like
that.
the Judge Dredd movie.
I've never seen that. I don't know. What
Yeah,
that is.
it came out it also came out in 2012. Judge Dredd was like a comic book character that got a live action. Well, it did have a live action movie in like the 80s that starred Sylvester Stallone as Judge Dredd. But then Carl Urban, the guy that plays Butcher in The Boys, he played Judge Dredd in Dredd, which came out in 2012, which was about like Judge Dredd taking down this like drug warlord at the top of a building. It was not, that act was a legitimate coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, because they both came out at the same year, and with just like the timing and everything, like it just wouldn't.
Isn't that so weird when
It
things
wouldn't
like
have
that
been
happen?
possible. Yeah, but like whenever the discussion of like an American-made raid movie adaptation is brought up, people are just like, we already have one. It's called Dread, and it's like, hey, perfect, because it's not even trying to be that, and it's its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie's still in development. There's that guy, that director's attached. There's also another, and that guy's also attached as a writer, but there's also another co-director, co-writer attached, who's this guy that did a handful of like not so great looking action films out of India. But as of January 2022, Michael Bay is now attached as a producer.
Wow.
And supposedly it's going to premiere on Netflix whenever it gets made.
No to all of those things.
Yeah.
All of the above.
I agree. No to all of those things. But anyway, that's everything I've got on The Raid Redemption.
Wow.
The Raid 2, whenever you are ready for it, I'm down.
Yeah, now I'm curious if you say that you like it better than the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling like you might like the first one more because you like the simplicity of the setting. And there's multiple different settings in the Raid 2. Like I said, there's just like more story. There's more to follow. But the like it's just everything is just like, they took it to 11. You know.
I mean, I don't mind more story if it's good. If it's like Mission Impossible,
no. It's not like that. Like it's still like the fight sequences are still like grounded.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Then yeah.
Yeah, and you're still following Rama on his, and it takes place immediately after this movie.
Then I'm sure I'll love it.
Okay. I mean, I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
There are some sequences in the Raid 2 where I'm like, yo, what?
I'm dead that you said Mad Dog's in it, but with a beard and longer hair. That's so funny.
Yeah. No,
that's hilarious.
I was confused when I first
like,
saw it. I was like, well, I immediately know that that's Mad Dog, but you're telling me that this is some other guy. Okay.
You're telling me that's Mad Cat?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's playing Mad Cat.
Excuse me?
No, his character has a completely different name.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
But his character is equally as dangerous in the second one.
Oh yeah, I will pretend that I know. I have never seen that man in my life.
Right. Meanwhile, in John Wick 3, his character's in the Raid 1, he's Mad Dog. In the Raid 2, he's Prakoso. And then in John Wick 3, he plays Shinobi number 2.
I know I've seen all the John Wicks, but they kind of blend together. So I don't. The only thing I remember from the third one was Halle Berry and her dogs.
Right.
So I need to like sit down and rewatch them all.
Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, both Yayan Ruhian and Iko Uwais have like gone on to make more action movies, which is great.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I want to see Iko in more stuff. Because he did this like Netflix show called Woo Assassins, and it was not very good. And then they made a movie based on Woo Assassins that was also on Netflix. I haven't watched it, but it does not look very good.
Yikes.
There's a picture for you.
Oh, I've seen that.
You've seen it, or you've seen the poster?
I mean, I've seen the poster.
Yeah. Yep. But
he's so cute.
Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his IMDb right now. I have seen most of his movies.
Nice.
He hasn't made very many.
Yeah.
One movie I really want to watch is Triple Threat. It's him, Tony Jaa, and Tiger Chen. Triple Threat. And Scott Adkins is in it. And Michael Jai White, the guy that plays Black Dynamite.
Oh. I was like, I don't know any other people you listed.
That's okay. Tiger Chen is in Man of Tai Chi, which Iko is also briefly in that movie. But Man of Tai Chi, Keanu Reeves plays a villain.
What? Keanu?
Yeah, I plan to assign that to you. That's on my list of martial arts movies to assign you at some point.
Keanu can never be a villain. I would never believe it.
Yeah, no, he's like a mean guy.
Is he like good as a mean guy?
No.
Like, is it believable?
I mean, yeah, he looks mad, but it's just like
He looks mad.
It's just like I
Well,
would
that's
not
always
have,
his like face.
I wouldn't have cast him for that role.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, I need to double check something.
He'd be like, I'm
'cause
the villain.
I'm also like, wait, Man of Tai Chi might have been directed by Keanu.
What?
Yes, it was.
How random.
Yeah. Man of Tai Chi, directed by Keanu Reeves, where he plays the main bad guy.
You know, Keanu's just out here living his best life, and I love that for him.
Yeah.
He deserves everything in life.
Anyway, anything else for the
Nope.
raid?
Nope. That's all I got. Let's
All
do
right.
our assignments.
Let's wrap this up.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So, my assignment this week, I'm doing a comedy. Now, you're going back to school next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought I would do a teen comedy, takes place, with high school and stuff like that. So I'm assigning you The New Guy. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It came out like 2000, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, teen comedy.
The New Guy. Who's in that?
Eliza Dushku. We love assigning movies that have Eliza Dushku in them. She is in everything. Like, she's been in like 4 movies that we've assigned this year.
We love her. I mean, she was the girl of the early 2000s, I feel like.
Yep, she's in this.
Nice.
I think Zooey Deschanel is in it, but I think that's Zooey Deschanel. But she's not like a lead.
Yeah.
The main guy, the new guy in question is he was on Breaking Bad for like one episode. His name's DJ Qualls. DJ Qualls. This guy.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, he was in this movie called Lone Star State of Mind, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's the dumbest movie ever, but it was like my parents' favorite movie for a while. And like I cannot get his like, because they had like country accents, and his accent is just like permanently embedded in my head because they've watched that movie so many times.
Okay. Eddie Griffin is also in The New Guy.
Who's Eddie Griffin?
Eddie Griffin? You know Eddie Griffin? He was Undercover Brother.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that was his name.
That's okay.
I just knew his face.
Yeah.
I love Undercover Brother.
Same. I haven't watched that movie in so long.
I know, it's been a
I've
minute.
seen it so many times.
I know. It's so silly. Okay, cool. Well, since you're giving me a comedy, and it's been a minute since I've given you something serious, I'm going to give you Law Abiding Citizen.
Law Abiding Citizen. I still have not seen this.
Yep. I was watching freaking Jamie Foxx movie. I was trying to watch They Clone Tyrone. I need to like restart it because I was not keeping up and it was weird.
It seemed weird from
Yeah.
the brief clip I caught.
Yeah. But I was sitting there like, man, I love me some Jamie Foxx. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do Law Abiding Citizen.
All right, cool.
So yeah.
So let's see. Next week we will be doing The New Guy and Law Abiding Citizen.
It's so
That
different.
that feels like a good combo to me. I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us for this episode, and we'll catch you next week for that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Bye.
Bye.